Hello, and welcome to the podcast, Mental Health Moments, with your host, Charity Wabuki. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist with a practice in Southern California. And each week, we will be talking about all things mental health to help reduce the stigma around mental health, provide practical daily tools for you to use, and help you live the best version of your life. So get ready to rise up, level up, and achieve new heights. If this sounds good to you, let's go. Hello, everyone. Can you believe we are already halfway through the year? That is crazy how fast this year has been going by. So, I just wanted to do a mid-year check-in with you in regards to mental health and just talking about some practical mental health goals that you can set for yourself if you have not already. So, one of the areas that you can think about setting a mental health goal is in the area of setting boundaries. Boundaries are so important to our well being. They allow us to not only take care of ourselves, but to be at our best and to give our best in the situations where we are choosing to show up. So think about certain areas of your life. It could be a boundary around friends, around your time with work, with school. Well, school's pretty much out for the summer or for the year. So maybe not school right now, but for those of you that are in school, come fall time, what kind of boundaries would you need to be setting around school? Finances is another huge area where more often than not, we struggle to set boundaries with our finances. Physical health, nutrition. So these are just some examples of areas in our lives where we can possibly benefit from setting boundaries. So I encourage you, just take a quick inventory of your life, in these areas. And if there's things that kind of feel out of balance, or if you find yourself saying yes when you really want to say no, to really pause and ponder and think about why are you saying yes when you want to say no? And remember, no is a complete sentence in and within itself. So one area possible a mental health goal for you in the last half of this year is setting boundaries in different areas of your life. Another mental health goal that I invite you to think about is self-care. And you probably heard self-care being talked about so much, and you might be rolling your eyes, or you might, even be internally saying, I don't believe in self-care, or self-care doesn't work, or whatever those barriers might be. But guys, let me tell you that self-care, it's not selfish, and we need to practice self-care. If you've ever flown on a flight and you're hearing the pre-flight instructions, one of the things that they will often say is, in case of an emergency, do what? Put your oxygen mask on first before you turn to help anyone else. And the same can be said with self-care. If we're not practicing self-care, we are going to burn out. Let me say that again. If we're not practicing self-care, you will burn out and you'll have nothing left to give to people or situations around you. I was just talking about this with several of my clients, these past couple of weeks, and they have competing work, school ending, family obligations, planning summer, and it was too much. And, so I asked them, I said, well, how are you taking care of yourself? And their immediate reaction was, we're not. And my encouragement to them is, let's find time. Even if it feels like you don't have any time, I promise you, there's time that you can carve out in your day. And so self care is simply the intentional act, or acts plural, of doing something that makes you feel good. So this could be taking a bubble bath, going for a drive, listening to a podcast, listening to your favorite song, eating your favorite meal, going for a walk, talking to a friend, getting your nails done, getting your hair done. So it doesn't have to be big things, guys. And even if you're struggling with time, get creative. So hopefully, we have time in the morning, like if we're taking a shower, taking a bath, well, try using aromatherapy scents if you can tolerate that smell, or just feel like the water on your skin. And just notice what that feels like, that warm water. Right? Or if you're driving, maybe you want to take a drive in silence if you're on your way to work or on your way to pick up your kids. Or maybe during the drive, that's when you're listening to a podcast or an audiobook. Or maybe during the drive, that's when, you're reconnecting with a friend. So even if time is limited, start with what you have and then build from that. But the idea is let's be intentional about practicing self-care. We want to strive for doing something on a daily basis, but at the very least, several times a week. Because here's the truth. The world every single day is going to be pulling from you. Work, school, friends, family, kids, finances, jobs. And ultimately, you're not going to have anything left to give. And some of the signs, of possible burnout, you might become irritable, short-tempered, snappy, low motivation, not wanting to get out of bed, have difficulty even doing the simplest household chores or tasks, like making the bed, doing the dishes, light cleaning. So I encourage you in the last half of this year, if self-care is something that you struggle with, make it a goal to practice self-care. Another mental health goal that I invite you to think about is movement. Now, please hear me. I'm not saying necessarily movement has to be crazy like CrossFit, but to do your best to do some kind of movement within your own physical limitations on a daily basis. Even if it's getting out for a light walk, if you're able to daily, with the weather warming up, just getting out for a walk, getting fresh air, maybe it's light stretching. Maybe it might be something like kickboxing or boxing or martial arts or tennis. There's so many options that we can choose from. But there's a lot of studies that correlate a connection between movement and mental health. So if this is an area that you're struggling with, I encourage you, think about making this a goal. And, my encouragement is at least 3 times a week, at least 30 minutes a day if you're able. So please keep in mind when it comes to movement, you want to make sure that you're doing things within your ability. And if you have any questions or concerns, please consult with your physician or a fitness instructor for further direction on that. But don't underestimate the power of movement when it comes to your mental health. Another mental health goal that I invite you to think about is nutrition. What are you fueling your body with? It is so important that we are taking care of our bodies. And you have the ultimate, it's up to you ultimately what you're putting in your body. You're the one that is making that choice every single day, what you're fueling your body with. How are you starting your day? Are the foods that you're putting in your body setting yourself up for success? Or are they leading to feeling tired and sluggish, throughout the day? Do we have the afternoon crash? What are we doing in the evening, when we're winding out our day? So just encourage you, if this is an area that you're struggling with, get connected with a nutritionist or a dietitian and work with them to discover the best possible way for you to be fueling your body. More often than not, when our mental health is struggling, nutrition is one of those areas that we see struggling as well. I see it with my clients that are anxious, anxiety. I have clients that are anxious eaters, and some clients just don't want to eat if they're anxious or if they're stressed. And also depression is another mental health disorder that can definitely play a role on our relationship with nutrition and food. So if this is an area that you've been thinking about, possibly talking to someone about, or, if you're like, yeah, I don't have the best, nutrition, I encourage you, connect with a nutritionist, dietitian, and set a mental health goal, in this area. Another mental health goal that I invite you to think about is your support system. Guys, we were not meant to go through life alone. And if you're struggling, who do you have that's encouraging you, that is speaking words of life over you, words of encouragement, words of positivity? It is really important that we know who our inner circle is. There is power in the words that are spoken. If you have dreams in your heart, be careful who you share them with, because not everyone is going to be rooting to see you succeed. And as part of our mental health, we need to have a supportive support system. And also in that support system, if something, if we're doing something where, you know, are the people that we trust are worried, do they have the ability to call you out? Because that's also important as well. But not everyone has earned that right and earned the place in your life to be able to call you out on things. But we need that, the checks and balances. So if you struggle with a support system, maybe that's a goal that you want to set. I know that during the pandemic, it was really hard, the to be socially distancing and even the isolation. But now, you know, um, get back out there, make connections or rebuild connections, um, meet new people. There's people everywhere to be met. So I encourage you, if this is an area where kind of reflect and wish that you did have a healthier, more positive support system, make that a goal in the last half of this year. Another mental health goal, and this is a big one. This is a practice that I do every day and a practice that I encourage my clients to do every day or as frequently as they can. And this next goal is all about practicing gratitude. Gratitude can do so much for your mental health. Gratitude is a mindset. A lot of times, mental health and some of the mental health disorders that, people experience can leave them feeling really isolated, caught up in their head, doubting themselves, doubting their world. And gratitude, guys, it's a mind shift and it's a mindset. And so please hear me. Gratitude is not the magic answer that's going to cure everything. But by practicing gratitude, it starts to take the focus off of whatever challenges that you're going through and forces you dig deep and look around and to be able to find things to be grateful for in the midst of the challenges. And gratitude, can doesn't have to be really extravagant. I'm grateful that I woke up today. I'm grateful that I got to go work out. I'm grateful that my fur baby is still alive because she's been having a couple health issues. So finding gratitude in the small things. I'm grateful for air conditioning. Come on now, if you're living in Southern California, our weather's starting to heat up. So air conditioning is such a joy. And I'm grateful that my air conditioning works. I'm grateful that I'm able to pay my bills. So I can't have my air conditioning on right now. So gratitude is such a huge practice and will help you so much with your mental health. So my encouragement to my clients, because I'm a visual person, so I have a journal and I write down anywhere either one, no more than three things a day when I'm closing out my day. What am I grateful for? And sometimes I might do this in the morning if I wake up and I'm just kind of like not feeling my best. And I'm like, okay, I need to work on my mindset as I'm starting my day. So sometimes I do my gratitude in the morning. So I encourage you, if this is not a practice that you are already doing, think about incorporating it in the last half of the year and just see what happens. Be open. Another mental health goal, and this is another huge one, is when it comes to our thoughts. And I'll do another podcast about cognitive distortions and some of the thought traps that we find ourselves in. But our thoughts can get us doing and thinking crazy things. And sometimes it's not even based in reality. Did you know anxiety is 1,000% rooted in the future of things that haven't happened and might not even happen, but yet we're responding as if they're happening right now. And so when we get caught up in thought spirals or, cognitive distortions, how does that start impacting the decisions that we make, how we view ourselves, how we view others? And so if you find yourself caught up in some of these cognitive distortions, right? Some of them might be all or nothing, or the black and white, or catastrophizing, thinking that the worst case scenario is going to happen, or shoulding ourselves. I should do this, or I should have this accomplished by this time in my life. I should be promoted. I should be a parent. I should have my debt paid off. And something that I share with my clients is stop shoulding yourself. And we talk about where that framework of shoulding comes from. So if you are having challenging thoughts that more often than not are leaning into the negative mindset, perhaps a mental health goal is to really start challenging some of those thoughts. Is this thought really helping me right now? How is this thought helping my anxiety or helping my depression? And the answer, guys, is it's not helping. So then we ask ourselves, okay, is there another way that I can be looking at this situation? So, and I'll do a whole entire podcast on thoughts and cognitive distortions. It's going to be great. But if this is an area where you find yourself leaning more towards the negative, caught up in those thought spirals like the what if this happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? I really encourage you to set a goal of starting to challenge those thoughts, question them, see if there's a more positive way to look at that thought, a more neutral way, a way that doesn't invite that anxiety or feed that anxiety. And then the last mental health goal that I want to share with you guys, this is a big one as well. And I'll do a whole podcast on this because when my clients get and truly understand this goal, it's a game changer for them. And the goal is, am I living a value-based life? I'll say that again. Am I living a value-based life? Because our values help us make decisions in our lives. So if we're doing things that are not in alignment with our values, why are we doing them? If we're making decisions that are not in alignment with our values, why are we making those decisions? And even taking a step back, do you even know what your values are? A lot of people say, oh, yes, I know what my values are. But every single client I've given this exercise to, in terms of identifying your top 10 values and why, they struggle with it. Because if you're not clear on your values, how can you show up in your life the way that you authentically want to show up? So, a great goal and even a great exercise is to take the time and identify what are the top 10 values of my life. And then to really drill down, what are the top three? And what is my top value? So it's saying, when my time on this earth ends, what would people say? Because our values should be clear by how we live our lives. People should be able to see and recognize the values that we live by without us having to name them. Oh, I have this value, and that's a value, and that's a value. So I hope these mental health goals were helpful. We have half a year left. Cannot believe this year has gone by this fast. And so I just wanted to do this podcast as a mental health check-in and hope this was helpful. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining us today. And as a reminder, information provided in this podcast is not designed to diagnose, treat, or replace professional therapy. If you or someone you know can benefit from mental health therapy services, please reach out to a local provider in your immediate area.